So after a study or an understanding of spatial knowledge, which is again knowing where we are in space, how we relate to other people or other objects in space, Bharatanatyam could also be a way to understand how the brain creates movement. And in Bharatanatyam, through Bharatanatyam, we can possibly understand how the brain generates, terminates, and perceives movement. So for example, as audience members, how do you perceive me perform on stage? And it could also help us how the brain helps us stay still. Dances of all kind are a great way to understand this contrast between stillness and movement. In Bharatanatyam, especially given that many of the aspects come from temple sculptures, again, that's an example, there are very specific ways in which Bharatanatyam employs stillness. In Bharatanatyam, movements can be really subtle, so it can be just the eyes and neck, and they can be of really large scale. So really a range of movement, and Bharatanatyam intentionally employs movement to convey meaning. Over the next couple of minutes after this piece, we'll also see how exactly the brain ascribes meaning to movement. And in Bharatanatyam, inherent in Bharatanatyam, is also the study of patterns. And patterns are just regularities, it could be in music, in dance, in writing. And in the piece I will perform next, you will see a couple of patterns that keep recurring. So why do we move? For a whole bunch of reasons: to seek food, to find mates, to get shelter, to get away from predators. These are some geese. I live uptown, so these are some geese in Inwood Hill Park. And you see them moving for, again, a variety of reasons. How do we move, right? I mean, this is something, again, we possibly take for granted. But again, movement is a very complex kind of process that's happening in the brain. Very, very simplistically speaking, the part of the brain that is responsible for movement, for initiation, for planning, initiation, and execution or termination of a certain movement is the motor cortex. And there are specific ways in which the brain responds to contextual cues. What are these cues? Your phone might ring and you go and pick up the phone. And when there is a cue, for me it could be Jayansar's music that gives me a cue to walk into stage. And there are other parts of the brain that are also involved when it comes to cue-related movement. Stillness, right? We rarely think of stillness as something that is worth studying. Here we have some turtles, again in Inwood Hill Park, sunning themselves. My puppy, who is also wearing a bindi sometimes, and he's also staying still. So when we think of stillness, it's something we spend a lot of time doing. And stillness is achieved, in a couple of slides ago I mentioned how there's a balance between excitation and inhibition that's always happening in the brain. Stillness is achieved by inhibitory systems, and they're also regulated in really precise ways. So movement is very precisely regulated as a stillness. This piece is called a Jati Swaram. A Jati Swaram is a combination of two words, Jati, which is an intricate sequence of movements, with swaras. Swaras are repetitive musical notes of Carnatic music. You'll find repeating movement patterns as well. In a Jati Swaram, there is no narrative, so there is no story being told.